Hello, I'm Professor Lisa Griffith again, and this is our shading the cubes study. I just wanted to let you know that when I stepped back after drawing this up, because I'm drawing from an angle, so I'm really visually at a disadvantage. And when I came up and looked at it again later, I went, and I fixed up my cubes, and I just wanted to show you how I did that. I like to use these, they come in the mail. You're going to get a lot of them now because of elections, and they're good. They're cardstock and they're coated, and they're excellent to use just use them as a line to help you create a nice straight line. They're light, they're not as heavy as a ruler, so they're easy, and if you lose it, you just find another one. And I use them to help me keep my lines straighter. As I said in the previous video, I'm not a great straight line artist, so I use those to clean up with. I also use these to control my shading. So let's go over and look at the still life quickly. It's over here on the desk. We have the white cube and the pink cube. The baby cube is pink. The shadows are a little different because it's a slightly different time of day, but we can work with it. The white cube is going to be pretty straightforward. We have the dark, the light, the dark, the medium, and the light, and then it's cast shadows. The pink is going to be slightly different for you, and I put it in for that because now you have to decide where does the pink go, and how does it relate to our gradation study. Is the pink tone, do you see it as 7 or 8 or 6? Is it really dark? So the overall cube now has to be toned, and then you have to add on the toning for the shading, the darkest side and the lightest side. Okay? All right, so let's go back and let's get started and get rid of that. So go back with your charcoal. I have charcoal, my card, and my kneaded eraser, and I'm just going to go, I'll just start with the baby. We'll do the whole thing. So what I want to do is I'm concerned about keeping my outer space clean. So I am just going to do a quick overall shading, and I want to talk about that as we work, because I'm working quickly. I have about a half an hour on this camera to do a video, and sometimes drawings take longer than half an hour. So I want you to not work as quickly as I am forced to, but to get to know the materials. You can work a little slower. You have as much time as you can find in your day. Okay, so this helps me control my shadow, and it also helps me set up just my overall darks, almost like a fast gesture of charcoal. And so I already have my dark, my light, but this definitely needs a tone. Remember how we did this last time, where we took the, because we didn't want a really dark, we put it onto charcoal or a piece of paper or our hand, and we started shading it. Do this again. And I want to just tone the tone for the pink. And I might just take some of that. Oh yeah, it's better. I was not actually dark enough. Okay. As you see. Alright, and I need to fix that because now I've mushed it, but that's easy to do. Alright, so that's a fast study. We're going to go back to that. Let's start to lay in our cast shadows. I see this right here as my darkest dark shadow, especially when it hits the edge of the object, right there. And then it lightens just a little there. And now when you start doing hard-edged forms compared to the round-edged forms, the objects should be nice, sharp shadow edges to see the kind of movement, three-dimensional suggested movement you're trying to create, and the shadows can be a little fuzzier, and that will automatically indicate that this is a shadow and that is a cube. I have a nice interlock of darks right here that's quite beautiful with an interesting light, and then the whole thing just kind of fades out. And I don't want to end it before the paper, so I'm just going to let it fade right out to the paper, because again, that suggests our ground, and we don't have to worry about doing much more. There's another beautiful dark shadow right here we want to bring in. And again, we have almost a light source, so we're going to lighten up, and we're going to drag that right down. Lighten it up as we go off. That's got to get sharper. Okay. So that's a fast, almost a really fast shadings of that box. Now what I would normally do is, and if I have time, I'll go back and smooth it all and make it really a nice tone, just like I did in my gradation study. So we're going to do the same thing with this. The black on this side is our darkest. And it's a beautiful crisp top that just hits the dark quite beautifully. So you want to try to keep that beautiful crisp dark as it comes down. And I'm going to need another piece of charcoal because I just broke mine. Alright, here we go. Charcoals, you also learn to work with your charcoal. The new pieces of charcoal have sharp dark edges, which are probably good for this job because you want some nice dark elements. And then these little soft pieces I tend to keep in my box, and when I need to do a nice soft element like on the egg, or when we work with I have a squash study because it's fall and it's going to be easy for you to find vegetables. They will need a soft element, and then you can take the soft pieces that have been rounded by your hand in the rubbing process and create a nice softer surface without these sharp kind of lines like this that you get. So we're going to keep going with this. Quickly try to lay this in as quickly as I can. Really pushing my drawing skills here because I'm usually not the fastest drawer in the world. But I need to be faster for these videos. Alright, so that's my darkest dark. I do have this kind of interesting slight square of light within my darkest dark, and I'm going to play with that later. Now this is my secondary. Now remember we did lighter dark here, so let's see if we can pull this in kind of quickly. I have a nice sharp top that I want to keep. A nice beautiful edge. These two meet, and this one is subservient to that edge. It's lighter, and that's what you're going to make sure happens. But then there's a nice dark movement here. My charcoal just broke again, so I'm getting really thin. So go to this one. See, if that happens, just keep pushing it out of your way. Thank you. My assistant has given me a piece of charcoal. So here we go. I'm going to get this edge in. See, I use the card just to control the edge of the charcoal so it gives me a nice smooth surface. I don't have to go back and fight it so much, but that's all I really do. I run the charcoal along the edge with it. But if you don't like it as a tool, you don't have to use it, but I suggest you give it a shot because it gives you a nice machine tooled edge with a lot less work. So this should be lighter, and if I've made it too dark, that's my fault, and I should lighten it up really quickly right now. So now we can just go in, and this is a good tool for that again, because it allows me to just work freely, to push that down and to control that dark pretty quickly. And I need to put it on this side. Okay. And we just keep going. I'm happy with that. Now the cast shadow in this is quite beautiful. Again, we have this beautiful angle right here, and a really dark, the darkest shadow practically in the whole thing is right along here. It goes very narrow because it disappears. And my dogs might bark in a few minutes because there's a dog outside barking. Alright, there we go. So that little shadow is beautiful. And if there is a beautiful corner of light right here, I want to try to bring it in quickly before I lose it to a dirty surface. And so this shadow, now I have to recreate my edge of my box. And that happens a lot with charcoal. You just reestablish and push it in. Okay. And then I'm going to drag this charcoal out again. This is a nice dark, it's kind of an interesting shape right here. It's pretty dark. It kind of comes like this. And then it's a little bit lighter there. You have this interesting kind of almost just dirty space here where it's a little bit of tone going on from cast shadow. Not a whole lot. But it comes off of the edge of the box, and that's what's really quite beautiful. And then this has a beautiful shadow that comes this way, okay? And again, it fades out off to the paper. And again, it comes right along the edge of this cube. I'm going to just drag my charcoal. If I get a little bit of light, that's okay. We'll play with that because we might get a little sharp edge of light, and just pull that along there and really push that charcoal in there. Don't be afraid to get in there and just make a little bit of a mess. That's why I like charcoal. Charcoal is a medium that some artists do not like because it is extremely messy and dirty. I love charcoal. I find it is the most, what you would call the most plastic of all the mediums. It allows you to get very painterly-like surfaces, and it allows you to play with space very quickly, so you don't have to do a lot of work. If you did this in graphite, you would be shading for a long time to get this kind of complexity quickly. All right, let's step back. That's working pretty good. Now, this is the point where I would go in and start to really play with making these boxes look dimensional this way. So let's go back to the little baby. And we're going to play with the sharpness of these edges. So each plane looks like a plane unto itself, but that they come together and slam up against each other. That's very important in these box studies. If you've noticed, I've given you a sharp edge study when we did the gradation study of 10 squares, and then I gave you a round study of an egg, and now I've given you a box again, and the next study will be round objects, with ellipses. And this is done on purpose. Some people like hard edge because these kind of sharp squares just make better sense to them, and others like round surfaces. And you're gonna sometimes you don't even decide, just it's in your nature, it's intuitive to you. And so each one will set up and behave slightly differently, and you may naturally go towards one to the other, and that's fine too. You may go, oh, not another hard edge form. They're not my favorite, but you just get through them, and then you go to the round ones, and then later I'll leave you to make decisions of what you want to draw, and then you can decide what it is. Alright, especially in drawing 2, when you get to drawing 2, if you stay with me for this, and if you're an art major, drawing 2 is way more about exactly what you want to draw, because we've already gone through most of this. Okay, so now I've just spent a lot of time trying to indicate that this cube, or this square, is the edge of a cube, and I want to clean all this up, and I want to step back, and I want to see that that's looking pretty good. Now that's my darkest section. Now I have to move to my lightest section, and I'm just gonna take this, Actually, I'm just going to do this like this because I'm good at using my hands. And I've changed my board. I put my drawing board up and bolted it to the wall. And I tape my paper so it doesn't move anymore. So it's much easier for me to work the way I would work normally if I were drawing. And I normally draw on this wall. This is my studio and this is my drawing wall. It's in my house and it's the brightest, it's the largest bedroom in my house, and it is the brightest room in my house so that I have natural light to work with. Okay. During our help sessions that we will do in class once a week, we will not be meeting as a full class because of the pandemic. We will be meeting individually or groups of 3, no more than 3, for about an hour. I will be submitting paperwork to you through Moodle or through an email. I'm not sure which is coming yet. And you will sign up for your hour of help. And if you need more than an hour, don't fret. I'll just make sure you're in another room so that the other 3 students and you aren't in the same space, because the school really wants me to keep my number as low as possible. Okay, so here we go. And I hope this helps. See how I'm slowly crafting. This is what I want you to do when you are drawing, is step back, look at it, keep looking at the drawing. What does it need? What is that telling you that it needs? Just for beginning drawers, don't try to make it up. Just what is happening with your light source. Try to recreate what's happening with your light source. If it's absolutely something weird and you can't figure it out, you can always send me an image of it if you can get it on camera. Sometimes you can't. I need a sharper edge here. Notice how this has gotten muddy and kind of blurry. So what I'm going to do is, like we did with the egg edge, I'm going to go in and I'm going to lighten just a little bit. Merge it together. Yes? Then, see, automatically, my dark pops. So for every dark, there should be some kind of corresponding light that happens. Not always, but a lot of times that's, in a charcoal drawing, if you can make it happen, go for it. It's a better way. It'll control your drawing. I have to notice this is now a blunt edge. I'm pretty happy with this little baby. She's pretty good, but notice that's a non-defined corner. So let's define that corner. Let's get in here. I think I've made it a little too fat, maybe, because all of a sudden my corner's missing. So I'm going to go in and darken that. And then I'm going to go in here and darken this corner. And I'm going to pull the cast shadow here. How's that? Shade. Control this shadow, which I want it to be looser and smoother, so I'm going to leave it a little bit more frayed. And just kind of, I don't care for the drag of the charcoal unsmooshed. I much prefer it manipulated and smooshed. Now, some people like it, and that's fine. You decide as you're drawing what is best for you. And there are no rules in art. That's why I took art. I took a couple of classes as an undergrad, and Professor Miloff said there are no rules in art. And then Professor Townsend said, again, there's no rules in art. And if there is a rule, break it. And find a way to break it and make it work. And I thought, well, that's a field for me. I was never good with those English rules. So if I could find an area of study with very little rules, good. That's good for me. And I think that's good. How much time do I have on this?
9.5 minutes.
9.5 minutes. Okay. So I'm not going to have enough time to shade this entire big box. And I don't want to make these videos too long, because then you're going to be like, it's like watching paint dry. But I think that helps you know that this is a nice little box, and that's how we want. Now we're going to do the same thing we did here to this box, except up here, we're just going to tone very lightly, because even though it's the brightest bright, it really should have some tone, because it has to exist in the world with the other two surfaces. If you have no tone on it at all, it will probably look like you didn't draw it. So you want to, I think we did that with the egg. We toned it, and then we removed a lot of the tone. So what I'll probably do is finish this up and try to see if I can link just a photo to this video of the finished drawing. If I could do that, I'll do it. Otherwise, I'll just throw it up under the video, because I'm not sure exactly how to do all these things digitally. I'm learning as I go. All right? So again, email me at lgriffith@berkshirecc.edu if you have any questions at all. Thank you.